Okay, we're going to look at yet another PSP EQ, and it's very good for harmonic content, similar to a couple of the other ones we looked at, but a little bit clearer and less of the distortion. Once again, distortion isn't always a bad word, and the amount of distortion actually in the EQs we mentioned before are just very subtle, of course. This one's a little more transparent, but I'm going to get into some techniques here, why we would use it and how we would use it, and also going to look at the cue. Now, I want you to listen as I do some changes here to the entire mix. Now, here's one of the rules. When you're EQing a track, don't listen to that track. Listen to the entire tracks, all the relationship. Now, I've seen students, when they do a mix, turn down all the tracks, start with an instrument, turn it up, EQ it, turn it down, go to the next instrument, turn it up, EQ it, turn it down, go to the next instrument. And unless you're going to be doing that when you listen to it back later and just listening to one track at a time, that's not a good way to mix. What you want to do is listen to the relationship of the tonalities. And what we're talking about here, this is all about tonal color. And as we mentioned earlier, you know, when a painter has the color red next to a blue, it looks different than if it's next to a green, even if it's the same exact tonality of red. And that's absolutely the same scenario for audio. Tonal color is what we call it in audio. And the relationship of the other tracks can completely change how any track is perceived. And the psychoacoustic element is always prevalent. And so you were working with a somewhat artificial medium to begin with. You want to be able to understand the rules and limitations. The more you understand the limitations, the more power you actually have to get the results you want, because you work within those boundaries. So let me demonstrate a few things here. I'm rolling off a good amount of the bottom end, and we're talking about the electric piano, which is a support track here to the lead vocal and the other parts we mentioned. Should be subtle, but it shouldn't be so subtle. But when the low frequencies are in there, it kind of ruins the whole mix. Take a listen.
The clock's been ticking time away. The moon's my only friend.
It's kind of covering up the lead vocal, which we haven't changed the volume of the other instruments at all. But the tonality of it is stepping on the lead vocal and the other parts, and it's not meant to be that important. So this brings up the issue of tonal dominance. I know that sounds strange, but it's a very important term. And what happens is tonality really does dramatically affect how dominant a part is. And you can change how dominant a part is by changing the tonality and changing the EQ. And what we talked about in terms of clarity, you want the most dominant parts to be the parts that the ear needs to hear first, that relate musically to what the song is all about. And the main melodic content needs to be very dominant in the mix, such as the lead vocal in this case. So I want you to listen to what happens once I start subtracting some of those low frequencies, and I'm not changing anything else.
The clock's been ticking time away. The moon's my only friend. I'm lost beside this highway. Is this where my story ends? I'm walking with my shadow, but my feet don't.
You'll notice in this, when it's in this area, both the lead vocal and the bass guitar sound kind of murky. But when I roll it up a bit and allow the bass guitar to come through in that same area where the electric piano was, but no longer, the overall mix sounds clearer, just allowing that bass to come through. And it's no longer stepping on those nice resonant frequencies in the lead vocal. Now, examine that again. Check it out.
The clock's been ticking time away.
So not only does it create clarity, rolling those low ends off with the bass guitar and the vocal, it actually allows the rhythm of this song, which is a very important part of the tune, to come through much more clearly. Because what you've got happening here is the interplay between the lead vocal rhythm and the rhythm of the drums. And who would have thought that just single held chords like that on the electric piano would get in the way so much? They do. But the part is important. So rolling that bottom off and allowing the upper frequencies to come through makes a huge difference in how we perceive the rhythm of the song